Hi folks, in this video I'm going to be talking about the ping pong ball reinforcement technique that I use for my right hand nails. Very rock and roll indeed. First things first, let's get the ingredients that I will need. Nail glue, nail scissors, one of these multi-surface nail files, nail clippers, and of course a ping pong ball. And you want to make sure that it is a half decent ping pong ball. I use these ones, which I found to be really very good indeed. Step one is you want to get your existing nails to be the right shape and length, because this technique is all about reinforcing the nail you already have, not extending the nail in any way. So spend a little bit of time making sure you're happy with the shape and length of your nail to begin with. Okie dokie, I'm fairly happy with that. So next thing we need to do is we need to hack into this ping pong ball. So what you want to do carefully is use your nail scissors and cut a hole in the side of the ball there. That will allow you to slot your nail scissors in, and you're basically just going to cut this ping pong ball in half. And there we have it, 2 halves of a ping pong ball. So once you've got one half here, you're going to cut some semicircles of a decent size so that you can hold them easily in one hand. And I reinforce my index, middle and ring fingernails, so I'm going to be cutting out 3 semicircles here. So we have got our 3 semicircles, and they are going to be for my index, middle and ring finger nails here. The next step is we need to cut a shape in this semicircle which matches the profile of the shape of the inside of each of these nails. And you can see each nail is slightly different, and the more you do this, the more you get practiced at how to cut these individual shapes. So starting off, we'll go for my index fingernail, see how we get on. Alright, and as you can see, what you can do is you just try and post that underneath the nail and make sure that it fits pretty well. And as you can see there, it's not a bad fit. So that's one done. Let's move on to the middle fingernail next, and as you can see, it's a slightly different shape. Alright, let's try this one out. And there we go, you can see it posts underneath quite neatly and sits underneath the nail quite nicely, like so. Finally, we do the ring fingernail next. As you can see, again, a slightly different shape. Alright, and we'll try this one here. And again, just posting it underneath to make sure we have a snug fit. And that's feeling pretty decent. So there we have it. Those are our 3 shapes. Before we go ahead and start gluing these, what I like to do is just, when you're cutting them, you might leave a couple of little rough edges on the side which might prevent it from getting a really nice snug fit underneath the nail there. So what I tend to do first is just give them a very light file, just to remove any of those rough edges. Alrighty, next up, we've got to get these glued. Now the reason I said to leave a decent amount of space with these semicircles is so you can hold these easily and get them to fit underneath the nail nice and easily without getting your left hand covered in glue in the process. So we're going to grab our nail glue, and I like using this brush on stuff so you have a little bit of control over where it goes. And I brush on, you know, a decent amount on the top along the edge of this shape here. Find a couple of coats. Does the job just fine. And once you have that, can take this and you post it underneath the nail here. Get it fitting nice and snug. And then you just want to be applying a bit of pressure in an upward motion by your left hand in order for the glue to set nice and strongly, to hold it in place for somewhere around about a minute or so. As this process is going on, I just move my left hand thumb just around, just making sure that a good amount of pressure has been applied across all parts of the nail there. And after a while, you should have something that looks like this. You'll see the excess just poking out, and we can leave that now for a bit. We want to make sure that it's absolutely rock solid before we start trimming it. Alright, moving on, and we go for the next one in the sequence, the middle finger. And there we have the middle finger done, so we'll move on to the ring finger next. I'll tell you what, this process is a little bit more tricky when you have a camera set up in front of you. Alright, there we have it. Those are my 3 fingers done there. And now you're in this slightly awkward position where you have these bits of ping pong ball sticking out quite proudly there. And there have been moments where, for example, the postman's rung the doorbell whilst my nails are in this state, and I've had to go and receive a package, which leads to some somewhat concerned looks from the postman. But anyway, hopefully you don't have to do anything else when you're in this particular state, and I would just leave them just to make sure that they are completely dry. Sometimes I'm checking along the edge just to make sure that this glue and the nail are completely sealed there, and if you can see any kind of little air gaps or whatever that might cause it to come loose, what I tend to do is I just bring the brush back in and just touch up just the very edge of the nail and the ping pong ball there with the glue, just to make sure that there are absolutely no issues with little air gaps along the edge. There we go, that's us done with the glue for now. Pop that to one side. Alright, so I've left these for a few minutes and now they're pretty dry. The next thing is to trim that excess. And the way that I do this is I use the nail clippers. You could use the scissors if you wanted to, but I found the nail clippers to be pretty quick at doing this stuff. So what I do is I just trace along. It's not getting quite super close to the nail just yet, but we're just removing the lion's share of the excess with, and then for the second pass we're getting a lot closer to the nail in preparation for a bit of filing. Alright, so there we go. We've got ourselves a rough pass, getting rid of all of the excess. Next up, we're going to get some filing on the go. So to start off with, we're going to use the roughest edge of the nail file to remove any of the nastier ridges here and just get the ping pong ball and the nail to be absolutely flush with one another. Alright, getting there nicely as you can see. Then we move on to the middle finger. Is that one done? Finally, the ring finger. Cool, so there we go. Then we move on to the next edge, and this time we're just trying to smooth things out now, getting a nice smooth finish on the edge of the nail. And we'll go around each one of these fingernails individually, get that sorted. You can see I'm rotating the nail a little bit, so we're covering the underside of the nail edge, and just the part on the top of the nail, just to make sure that every single part of the nail that could come in contact with the string is super smooth. Alright then, and you've guessed it, moving on to the next one, we're getting just finer and finer, smoother and smoother, until we end up with the nails feeling like glass. So, let's go for it. One more to go. So there we have it, ping pong ball reinforced nails. The next step would be to get the guitar in the hands, try them out. If you're hearing any unevenness or roughness, then you just get the nail buffer out and just try and smooth everything out until you're happy. So the reason I do this is because I play a lot of steel string, and it's nice to be able to really dig in, and natural nails I just found got shredded very, very quickly. I'd last barely a gig. So this was a technique that I first came across via the fantastic Clive Carroll. When he first told me about it, I thought it was all a bit odd, but I thought, well, we'll give it a go, and actually it's been one of the most transformative things that I've done for my guitar playing. I prefer the feel of these to acrylic nails, because acrylic nails get glued onto the top of the nail, and they just never really felt like my nails really, whereas these, because they're glued underneath, they just feel like just your nail, but stronger. And you're also not suffocating the top of the nail by constantly adding glue from where the nail is growing from, which means that overall I think it's probably a slightly healthier option for your nails in the long run. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed that video about my nail care routine. Very rock and roll, isn't it? If you'd like to learn more about my approaches to guitar tone and all sorts of other things, I have an online tuition resource called The College, which you can check out in the link in the description. And I also have a Patreon with lots of perks, which you can check out as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.